up until this week's Torah portion, Matot-Mas'ei, if I had to explain to someone who hasn't read the biblical story what it's about in a nutshell, I'd say very simply, there is a people, and there are two primary ideas in this book about this people that make this people unique. One, they accept upon themselves a monotheistic, right, a one God, and they're going to listen to everything he says, right, the commandments. And the second primary element, their land is Israel, right? Those are the two main elements that go, we keep hearing about. And here, lo and behold, in Parashat Matot, we get a huge slap in the face to one of these narratives. We have a complete drift from this party line, which I thought was unbroken. And what is that? Bnei Israel are meant to be in the land of Israel. All of Bnei Israel, all the people of Israel. But we are told here of two tribes, Reuven and Gad, that come to Moses the eve before we're about to enter the land and say to Moses, look, we have a lot of cattle, given our, business, our holdings, we'd really like to be here on the East Bank, Moab, Jordan. What do you say? And there's negotiating. Moses doesn't like the idea. He compares them to the slanderous spies, right, who spoke badly of the land. There's even implicit in the text that Moses is afraid that they want to stay and not help conquer the land. The two tribes say to Moses, have no fear, we are not going to live here until we help you and finish conquering the land. Eventually Moses says yes. What? Excuse me, did I break your concentration? Is it just me that this seems completely odd and what's going on here? No, and I'll tell you moreover, and what's difficult for me, Rashi is silent. I'm the Midrash, the Talmud, I'm looking for someone to ask the obvious question. How on earth could Moses, or God, or together, say yes? How on earth do we end this Torah portion where the resolution is, yes, after you help conquering land, you're going to get to live in the diaspora. You're going to get to live outside the land of Israel. We are going to break this narrative, this central element saying we're all going to be in the land of Israel. It does not make sense to me whatsoever. As I said, Rashi is silent about this, unfortunately, so I feel a bit blind. The Midrash focuses on the fact that when we are introduced to these two tribes, Reuven and Gad, Menashe, half of Menashe, only piggyback on this deal later on, we're told that Reuven and Gad have a whole lot of business holdings and cattle, implying that they are into money and things like that. And as a result, that's really why they want to be here. But I don't buy that. I don't buy that because Jewish history teaches that every single tribe is after money and other such things. I don't understand how Moses could have said yes. Wasn't he afraid that there'd be a rebellion and other tribes would want to also stay there? We know that the Israelites have been complaining for 40 years, wanting to go back to Egypt even. So how could you possibly say yes to 2.5 tribes? Aren't you creating here a new reality, a new biblical story? How is everyone okay with this? The only one that comes close to explaining as a result what happened here and why this is not okay is Chronicles. In Chronicles, and this is hinted in the Midrash, we are told that when the Israelites are banished from the land, the first to be banished are the 2.5 tribes who made this deal, Gad, Reuven, and half of Menashe. The reason the Midrash says they are banished is because they were, wanting money and things like that, and, wrong mindset. I think that's not the case. I would argue that the reason we were banished from the land from the start, and one of the problems in the story is that Moses and Hashem should never have said yes to this deal. Is it not okay for me for asking this? That is the question that I have when I read this Torah portion. Why were they told yes? And I also think that God was in this and said yes for the simple reason that last week we were told that when the Tzlofchad, the daughters of Tzlofchad, a few daughters who come to Moses with a legal issue to do with laws of inheritance, what's going to happen in the land. For a small question about inheritance to do with a few families, Moses says, I have to ask God. Here, in this week's Torah portion, when 2.5 tribes, 2 tribes, huge tribes, hundreds of thousands, come to Moses and say, we want to live, we want to break this narrative, live outside the land, he doesn't have to consult with God, he straight away says yes. I think God was in on this. I don't understand why yes. And what I think is that as a result of this archetypical situation, there's always been Jews in Israel and Jews in the diaspora. There has always been great tension, and I think this is one of the things we need to be fixing. And I think that we see it here. To end on a positive note, We're on the verge of entering the land of Israel. What could be better? Shabbat Shalom.